Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for MBU's Ask an Alum session. I'm Carly Fagan, an admissions counselor here at MBU. I know I can speak for all of us at Mary Baldwin when I say we wish we could have you on campus, but I'm so glad we're able to connect virtually. I thank everyone for their patience and grace as we have transitioned from what was once an in-person information session to online virtual visits. I apologize for any technological issues in advance. This platform gives you the ability to raise your hand, but if you can, please refrain and post all questions in the chat box to the right on your screen in order for us to be able to answer them best. Don't forget, if you haven't already, you have until June 1st to complete your Mission MBU and pay your deposit. Today, you'll hear from just a few of our wonderful alumni. I will let them introduce themselves and tell us what they majored in, what they've been doing since graduating, and what made them choose Mary Baldwin. Kamala, can you start us off?
Hi, it's great to speak to you guys about my experience at Mary Baldwin. My name is Kamala Chapman. I graduated in 2005. My major while at Mary Baldwin was biochemistry, and I minored in secondary education and psychology. The reason I chose Mary Baldwin was because it appealed to me. I loved the small class size. At that time, it was an all-women's institution. But now I'm seeing that it's grown and it's a great place to be. I love the way that the school has moved into the future. So I just love the traditions, and the sense of family that I had when I walked onto the campus as a prospective student. Since I've left Mary Baldwin, I actually had a job right before I graduated, and I began working at Wyeth Pharmaceuticals, and later moved on to Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. And currently, I work for GlaxoSmithKline, and I'm a product development scientist, and I work on developing new drug products for over-the-counter use for everyday health and wellness. And I live in Richmond, Virginia, and it's been a great place to live, and it's close to Mary Baldwin. Also, after I left, I received my master's degree from University of Virginia, and I did that while I was working. And I was very prepared for that degree. As I left Mary Baldwin, it gave me all the tools that I needed to be able to be very successful.
Great, thank you so much for that introduction. Carolyn, you're next.
I'm class of 2010. So when I was at Baldwin, I majored in international relations with minors in economic studies, leadership studies. Since graduation, I've been in the Army for almost 10 years now. I've moved around the world quite a bit. And the reason why I chose Baldwin was the small class sizes. I felt like I got more out of my education as I was able to ask questions freely with the professors. The professors had time to sit down and talk to us, as well as help us with any projects that we had. So your senior year, when you work on your thesis, it was great having a professor who was vested in your interest and could actually sit down and talk you through some of the ideas that you were working through. Since then, since graduation, I've also completed my master's, again in international relations, just finished this past December. I was able to do it while working, and it was great having the ability and the foundation that Mary Baldwin gave me, especially my writing skills, to be able to succeed in my master's.
Great, thank you. Whitney, now to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm certainly excited to be a part of the panel this evening. I graduated in class of 2012. I also identify with the class of 2013 because I did come in with that class, but I graduated from Mary Baldwin a year early in 2012 with a degree in English with a minor in creative writing. Right after graduating from Mary Baldwin, I did take a job with a local nonprofit agency that prepares students from challenging circumstances for college and life thereafter. During my interview for my first full-time position there, I was told I was going to be the next CEO. And they were right. I would be the next CEO, but just not of that organization. After spending 3 years with that company, I did start my own business in partnership with my mom, which is a local home care agency, Patients for Patients, where we provide personal care and companionship services to the geriatric population. So I have been working for myself for the past 5 years. Since then, I've also started an additional business, which is an online plus size boutique. And I also do freelance editing and writing for small business owners and aspiring authors with my degree in English. I certainly enjoyed my 3 years on campus at Mary Baldwin. It was the perfect school for me. I thoroughly enjoyed all of my classes, the sisterhood that it brings, and I appreciate the intimacy of the small classroom sizes as well. In addition to all of the counselors that were very enthusiastic during my student visit, because that's really what drew me in and made me feel like I belonged there during my visit on campus when I was searching for colleges.
Thank you so much. Michaela, now to you.
Hi, so I'm Michaela Waters-Crittenton, and I graduated class of 2017. I double majored in criminal justice and sociology, and minored in psychology and leadership. After graduating, I went on to complete a master's in restorative justice, and now I work for an organization called Impact Justice, specifically doing restorative justice and criminal justice related work. I'd say that Mary Baldwin uniquely prepared me for graduate school in a lot of the leadership training and the encouragement to be a part of your own educational creation experience. I know that in my graduate school, I was astounded to see how little student-led activities and policies were on that campus, and realized that Mary Baldwin had really set me up to expect a lot more from my educational experience, which I was grateful for. And I chose Mary Baldwin specifically because of the Virginia Women's Institute for Leadership, or VWIL program. I wanted to commission into the United States Air Force. I also chose Mary Baldwin because of the PERSIST program, which is now, I believe, the Ida B. Wells Gateway. And I remember coming for my accepted students day, and I got a flat tire. But before that, I had gotten to meet so many amazing students on campus who were double majoring and triple minoring and the head of 4 different clubs and on the Senate and running for president of the student body. And I was just so impressed. I remember thinking to myself, what would it mean to be one of these women who do everything here? And I was just so excited that I don't think I could have chosen any other school.
I love that. The camera wasn't on me as you were speaking, but I was smiling for the majority of what you were saying. So thank you. Cassie, now to you.
Hey, so I'm Cassie Brampton. I was a graduate of 2018, so actually 2 years ago to the day, which is pretty crazy. So I was a double major in anthropology, sociology, and international affairs, and I had a minor in Asian studies. I was also an honor council representative during my time at Mary Baldwin, and I transferred in my second year. So if there's any questions about that later, maybe I can help you out with that. Why I chose Mary Baldwin, basically what everybody else has been saying. I've also been just like nodding along this whole time, just like, yeah, that's exactly it. The small class sizes, you really felt like an individual. I became so close to my advisors, and I made some lifelong friends. Also, the location, honestly, is really good. Maybe we'll talk about this later, but one of my favorite things was to go downtown and eat some gelato and everything. So it's in a perfect location, it's the perfect class size, and it really builds your confidence in yourself, which has really helped me in my graduate school career. I guess I never mentioned that. I am just finishing up my master's degree in anthropology and sociology. I'm at the Graduate Institute of International and Development Studies in Geneva, Switzerland. So not only did MBU prepare me for the assignments and everything, but I actually did a couple May terms abroad, which prepared me to go abroad and really, helps me leave my cage and fly out into the world. So it's a pretty amazing experience, and I hope you guys have your own experience like that at MBU as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassie. Dominique, now to you.
Hi, so I'm Dominique Anderson, And I attended Mary Baldwin and graduated in 2018 with my Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science. And then I have like a unique experience where then I returned to Mary Baldwin the following year and completed my Master's in Business Administration in 2019. And what led me to Mary Baldwin and then kept me there even after my first 4 years was really everything that everyone else has said. The small class sizes, teachers definitely prepare you and invest in you as well. So I definitely had a great experience being able to intern with different organizations outside of Stanton and even outside of Virginia. I got to leave and travel to Washington, D.C. and intern at the National Association of Manufacturers and the Gloucester Institute. And I say that these great experiences working directly under CEOs would not have been possible without Mary Baldwin and just having that confidence to lead and to be able to speak in front of groups of people and to just feel confident in myself based on my education and my professors and my even alumni members who believed in me. I think one of the great things about Mary Baldwin is that I can sit on this panel and say that I know almost every one of these women who are alums at the school. And although we may not have all graduated in the same year, the strong alumni connection at Mary Baldwin is definitely something that I also appreciated while there. And now I currently reside in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm working at T-Mobile in their business solutions department, which just kind of helps to run the business. So I'm also like working in my field and doing something that I want to do, and Mary Baldwin definitely prepared me for that.
Thank you so much all for your introductions. Now we're going to open up for questions. Please feel free to post your questions in the chat box and I'll help field them to the correct alumna to answer. And it does look like we have had a couple questions come in. So let's see. I'm actually going to kind of throw this question out there. I know that we asked why you chose Mary Baldwin, but maybe we'll go around and start with the way that we started with introductions. Were there any factors that helped you decide on Mary Baldwin? You know, were you ever at a point where you were trying to choose between two schools, and was there a real strong deciding factor for you as to why you picked Mary Baldwin? And so we'll go ahead and start with Carolyn. Or actually, I'm sorry, we'll start with, let's see, we're going to start with Kamala.
So for me, I was torn between a lot of different schools. They were all completely different from each other as well. So there were large universities, overseas universities, all women, small, I mean, just everything. And what happened was I ended up choosing Mary Baldwin. I had actually went to JMU and I went to an accepted student group there, and I got on campus and I'd been on campus for a while and it just didn't resonate with me, and I was devastated because I really wanted to go there, but there was something about it that I didn't really like I thought I would. And so traveling down Interstate 81, and my parents said, well, let's check out Mary Baldwin, and I'm like, okay, why not? So actually came in and it was a Black alumni, or I'm sorry, it was a Black alumni event, but it was also multicultural student recruitment weekend. And I just kind of stumbled in there. We were just going to go look around, and they opened their arms up. I made a connection with, of course, a lot of the alum know Scott, and that was it. That sealed the deal for me. Not only was I uninvited, I was accepted. Like, you know, they made me a part of the day. I had a place at the table. I got to learn a lot about a college that I didn't know a lot about. And when I left, I knew that that was where I belonged. So for me, it was the sense of belonging. It was the open arms that you received. And then when I got there, the reason I stayed obviously was because it was a right place to be for me.
Thank you so much. Now to Carolyn.
So I was also a transfer student. So when I was transferring into Mary Baldwin, I had large universities, small universities. I had a whole gamut of things. But the thing that really helped me decide were the programs that were offered at Mary Baldwin. So for example, I knew I wanted to do ROTC, and that's how I wanted to set myself up for after college. So I decided that whatever school I was going to choose needed to have an ROTC program. And a lot of times you'll find on the military's website is, oh, you have to, go to a larger university. Well, Mary Baldwin offers ROTC. So for me, I knew that I wanted ROTC, and as I kind of dealt more, I knew that I wanted more out of my education than just to be a number in a large audience. So for me, it was the programs that Mary Baldwin offered, and as well as the small class sizes, that really helped me narrow down to realize that Mary Baldwin is where I needed to be.
Thank you. Now to Whitney.
Well, I did mention briefly that I attended a student visit day, and I actually toured with a college prep program that I was in while in high school. And I went to a mock class that Dr. Scott was teaching, which is a professor of philosophy at Mary Baldwin. And the level of enthusiasm and intellect and power that he spoke with really drew me in. I didn't want to leave my seat. And so I was actually torn between Mary Baldwin and my top choice school, but I hadn't received confirmation from them yet. But after touring Mary Baldwin, about a week after my tour, I received a letter from my top choice school that I didn't get in. And so during that time period where I was so torn, and then I received the letter that I did not get into my top choice school, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And I felt like that was because it was meant for me to go to Mary Baldwin. And so I did attend Mary Baldwin through the Ida B. Wells Living and Learning Community Gateway. And that level of sisterhood really transformed my experience at Mary Baldwin as well. I'm an introvert, and Dr. Scott's wife, Reverend Scott, was my advisor at the time, and she really pushed me out of my shell, which I can say definitely made me the woman that I am today. And so I told her I wanted to go to law school, and she said, well, you need to be on the judicial board. And I said, well, I'll apply next year. She said, no, you need to start now, because if you want to be chairwoman one, you need to start now, get that experience now. And she was right. So I applied and I got on the judicial board, and eventually that led me to the position of judicial board chairwoman and being on the SGA executive committee. And so essentially it ordered my steps to be able to go where I wanted to go, although my transition was a little bit different after college. And that was because I got so excited about the possibility of being a CEO for an organization that I absolutely truly love. But again, everything happens for a reason, and that transpired my transition to lead that organization, but ultimately to start my own business where I live the lifestyle now that I didn't even imagine. But ultimately becoming the boldly Baldwin woman that I did become, Mary Baldwin allowed me to really live up to my fullest potential to be able to be, the CEO of my own organization at this point. But ultimately, that's what led me to choose Mary Baldwin. That mock class with Dr. Scott, having Reverend Scott really call me on the phone and say, hey, I've reviewed your transcripts. You seem like a stellar student. I could show you, what it's like to be in Mary Baldwin and really help you excel. And so I'm excited and very grateful about the decision that I made to go to Mary Baldwin because, again, ultimately, it created me into the boldly Baldwin woman that I am today.
I love that. Michaela, now to you.
I know I spoke a little bit about getting the on-campus experience with that during Accepted Students Day and just being so absolutely blown away and amazed. I think another thing that helped me choose and stay at Mary Baldwin was the concept of sisterhood or camaraderie. I had just come from a really, gigantic high school where I'd felt very out of place and like it was hard to build connections with people. And every single time I spoke to a current student or an alum or an admissions counselor, they all said, while the way that you build friendships and lifelong relationships here is really important, and I've enjoyed it, and it's been special to me, and these are the people who are going to be in my wedding, and these are the people who are going to plan my baby shower. And I remember thinking, wow, that's absolutely amazing. Could I do that too? Could I build those kinds of connections and create those kinds of friendships and lasting bonds? And I am proud to say, yes, that I did, and I still keep in touch with all of my Mary Baldwin sisters. And so the idea of getting to really build close connection with people won me over to stay at Mary Baldwin.
I love that. Cassie, now to you.
Yeah, so my story is pretty similar to Michaela's. I came for a visit and I just started walking around campus and I ran into the one professor that I was hoping would be there. And I had a long talk with her about my experiences and what I was hoping to get out of MBU. And it was really constructive and really opened my eyes to the opportunities that MBU had to offer. And then similarly, once I actually got there and I was in, at that time we had the transfer gateway when you arrived and were a transfer student, and really building such strong friendships with that first initial group of, at that time, girls, was just really amazing. Like Michaela, I've already been like bridesmaid twice for that group of people. Like when we say you make strong connections at MBU, we really mean it. But yeah, just it's really amazing how they know you by name and they think of you and they send you messages and emails, sometimes advisors as well. They'll be like, oh, I saw this and you're really interested in this topic, so here it is. And they really care about you on a personal level. So that was my reason. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Now, lastly, Dominique, to you. Dominique, if you're with us, just let me know and I'll stop talking. But if not, I know. There we go. Perfect.
Yes. Okay, sorry about that. So what made Mary Baldwin different or made me want to come to Mary Baldwin was that I was immediately told from the beginning that I would have a mentor and that I wouldn't be by myself. And I think coming from a household where I'm like the only child and I had never really left from home, I was really excited to know that I would be matched with someone who would have similar interests as me and could help guide me through my 4 years at Mary Baldwin and then hopefully beyond. And I can say that they did stick true to that. When I came in as a freshman, I was given a big sister or a mentor who I still speak to today. We still talk to each other, offer each other guidance, and also just the ability to get involved. So I really wanted to be involved and really wanted to leave a mark on campus. There's so many different clubs and so many different ways to get involved. Even in your freshman year, I was a tutor by my second semester. So just to be able to give back to other students and to get involved right from the start was something that I was really looking forward to or looking for in a university, and that's what Mary Baldwin provided.
Thank you so much. Carolyn, looks like we have a question for you. How was your experience getting involved on campus as a transfer student?
It was really easy. So everybody's warm and welcoming at Mary Baldwin. So there's never this feeling of like, oh, you're a transfer student, like you haven't been here since freshman year with us or anything like that. So clubs are always open and available. I know that, so for example, when I decided I wanted to transfer, I was already playing softball at my former school, and that's something that I really wanted to do. So the admissions counselor that I was working with put me in touch with the softball coach, and so she and I started talking and having conversations, and it was really easy to get involved with softball and to continue to do that. And not only that, too, your professors, because they know you so well, will help and reach out to you. You know, hey, I see you're really interested in this particular thing. You know, we have a club or an activity going on that would that kind of coincides with that, and so they also help link you up with stuff as well. So it was really easy as a transfer student to get involved with just about anything that you wanted to on campus.
Great, thank you for that. Whitney, did you regret not choosing a larger school?
Absolutely not. um, Again, I'm an introvert, so I felt like I really could have easily gotten lost in the sauce on a larger campus. So, mostly all of the colleges that I applied for were smaller universities and colleges. So, even the universities that I applied for were rather on the small side as well. I was not interested in a larger school.
Perfect. So going off on that, were any of you, originally maybe looking at a larger school?
I was. So I can speak to why I chose not. So I definitely, like I said, I was at JMU. It didn't resonate to me. So I don't regret the choice. I got into Duke. I got into a lot of very large schools, and I don't regret the choice. And the reason saying that is that you are never in a class with more than 20 people sometimes. I mean, at the most. And unless it's, yeah, I'd say 20, maybe 30. And so I was never in this huge seminar class where I was a number. I was never a number. And when you compare that to the experiences that other people have at large institutions, that's one of the things that a lot of them say that they miss when they leave, is that they had professors, they admired their professors, but their professors had no idea who they were and who they were as people. And so I think that that is so important, because when you leave your college or your university, you enter into, you go from being a student to being a colleague. So your professor becomes your colleague when you graduate. And so it's a completely different relationship that you have, and that these students that went to large institutions don't have these relationships with their professors that I still have. I can call up and say, look, I just read this article. Have you seen this article? Or what are you working, what publications are you working on? And it's like you're talking to someone who's at work with you. And so they don't have that option. A lot of them don't. And so that's one thing that I don't regret. And even now I don't regret it. Another thing is we do a senior thesis. I think it's now called a capstone. A lot of undergraduate institutions do not do that. So you leave knowing how to present out a piece of work that you have chosen on your own and you have focused on for a year. And that's very important, because honestly, when you go into the workforce or when you're out in public, you're going to have to be able to speak about what you do. You're going to have to be able to present a piece of work, and the ability to be able to do that on an original research as an undergraduate is something that speaks volumes when you leave Mary Baldwin, and the ability to do that. So no, I will never regret my choice at all.
Thank you for that. And actually going off on what you just said, we'll go ahead and stay with you. It looks like we have a question. How did MBU prepare you for the workforce? So would you mind elaborating on that?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that the biggest thing is that, number one, like Whitney, I was a judicial board chair as well, and I was on the student government. And being able to run a large group of people, the judicial board chair at that time, I'm not sure how it's still structured, had a lot of power, and you really had to think about people's livelihood and your impact on them. That's a huge, some people would think it's a burden, but it's an honor to be able to experience that at a young age, and to move that into being able to go into the workforce. So I take that experience with me a lot, compassion for people, understanding what they're going through, because you don't know what the person next to you is going through. The other piece of being able to present original research, like I said, I'm a scientist, and a lot of scientists, they can't write, they can't present. Most of them are introverts. It's like, oh, I don't want to talk, I just want to do, right? And so I'm definitely not like that, but I had colleagues that were like that, and classmates who were like that, and it really pushed the boundaries on them, and it made them come out of their shell and be able to talk about what they do, and to present, and to be able to tell a great story. And that sealed numerous interviews for me. I had numerous offers, and I didn't know which one to choose. And so being able to be confident, you will leave being extremely confident if you're not. And if you are confident, you're going to be like the next president of the United States or something, you know, like you're going to feel like you can run the world. And that's the benefit, and that's the beauty, and that's the preparation you get at MBU.
Thank you so much for that. Michaela, what did you do when you were not in class?
Well, what I did when I wasn't in class, I was a part of so many organizations on campus. I was in the Anointed Voices of Praise Gospel Choir. I was in the Black Student Union. I was part of the Acorns orientation team. I was an RA. I was in the Greater Things Dance Ministry. I did work study. And so when I wasn't in class, I was probably working on something around that. And then when we had opportunities for, well, when I personally had an opportunity for a free weekend, I really loved to explore downtown Stanton. It's got a really lovely historic feel, and they give discounts for students at a lot of the shops. And so it was fun to go downtown with my friends and just explore what was going on around campus. And they, I don't know if they still do, but they offered Downtown Movie Madness, which was one free movie at the local theater. And that was a lot of fun to go and attend as well. So yeah, I think I kept extremely busy when I wasn't in class.
Perfect. Thank you. Cassie, this next question is for you. When you felt like you were struggling with a course, how easy was it to find resources to help you on campus?
So it was super easy. There's the Academic Success Center, which I believe is still in the basement of Grafton. So they have basically everybody you need there. You can go there and get a free tutor or a paid tutor. You can, get any sort of help you need. But I think a lot of times your first resource should be your professor, because like we've been talking about, they know you by name, they know all your stories. And they're really looking out for your best interest. So if you give them a heads up and just be like, oh, I don't really understand this concept, or I'm not sure what to do with this presentation, you can just shoot them an email and they'll make an appointment to meet with you. They're always really helpful. And then if you need additional support, that's maybe when you would go to the Academic Success Center to get some more hands-on help. But yeah, that's basically what I did. So.
Can you talk a little bit about the Academic Success Center or what you remember from it?
Yeah, so I don't remember that much, to be honest, but they had just renovated it when I was graduating, so I know they have much more than they used to have. Let's see. They have, I believe, kind of study rooms that you maybe can reserve, or that's where you meet with your tutor. I think they also have events sometimes. I think they had some sort of like scavenger hunt one time. So they have all these opportunities to make the space comfortable, right? Because sometimes when you're struggling, you're kind of like, oh, I don't want people to know I'm struggling. I feel really kind of uncomfortable going to this space. But they do all these other events to make it, more chill. Like they're all your friends there. They want to help you out. So they're going to make it comfortable for you. And then when you do need assistance, they're there for you. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's actually kind of what I love most about our Center for Student Success is really that, it's a place that you can go and feel comfortable getting help. It's not like you never will feel uncomfortable down there. So it looks like the next question will kind of be for everyone. So we can, start, Cassie, since you just spoke, we'll go to Dominique and then back down. So Dominique, for you, how diverse is MBU in the Stanton community?
Yes, so for me, MBU is extremely diverse. So I met so many different people from all walks of life. I had friends that were from California, Georgia, Texas, literally everywhere. And also there's so many opportunities to get immersed with different cultures that you may not have known about prior to coming to college, cultures, religions. I was actually president of the Minority Clubs United. So that gave me a great opportunity to get involved with people of all different backgrounds. And the Stanton community as well is just very accepting of Mary Baldwin students. Like Michaela said, a lot of the shops downtown do have different discounts for Mary Baldwin students to encourage them to come downtown and come into the shops and become one with Stanton. By the time I left, I did feel like a Stantonian or a Stantonian. Yeah, that's what they call it, a Stantonian. And I knew a lot of the members of the Stanton community, and they knew me by name as well. So definitely by the time I left there, I felt like that was my home. And when I go back, it still gives me that home-like feel. So definitely very diverse.
Perfect. Kamala, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience?
To come off from mute. So yeah, my experience was just, I think everyone said the same thing. It's the best experience I've had in my young adult life. So yeah, I think the community is the ceiling point for Mary Baldwin. And everyone is a family. Everyone's there together. I do feel like it's very diverse, and it's extremely diverse. Actually, there are a lot of different walks of life, but also diverse in terms of your academic programs. You have a plethora, and with it being a liberal arts school, you can try out whatever you want. You can learn something new, and not feel pressured. So that's really, really awesome. And then in terms of being able to study abroad, I can't say enough about that. I think mostly everyone tries to do that while they're there. And I actually, when I was at Mary Baldwin, I went to South Africa. And so, and being able to experience another culture from an academic setting versus being able to experience another culture if you just go on vacation is a completely different thing, right? So that opportunity to immerse yourself and to learn about a culture is amazing. And that leads to the diversity of the campus, because when you come back and you're changed, right? You have a different lens on, and then you add more to the diversity of the campus.
I definitely agree with that. So this next question will round robin again to everyone. This is, I think, one of the most important questions in my opinion, because it's been something I've been asked a lot lately, and that is in relation to dorms. So it looks like we'll start with Carolyn. What was one thing that you were grateful you brought with you to campus?
Oh, that is a really hard question. I'm really grateful for everything I brought to campus. I think the biggest thing would probably have to be, so I had a mini fridge, and I found that to be great because when you are staying up late to study, it's nice to be able to have a Coke or something with caffeine in it, or coffee. That was probably the second greatest thing I brought, was a coffee maker. Because with ROTC, I was up early or I was staying up late for studying. So just having probably one of those two items was probably the biggest key for me that I was really happy that I was able to bring.
Perfect. Whitney, what about you?
I'm laughing because I'm slightly germophobic, so I was really grateful that I brought my shower shoes. Just thinking about the fact that everyone is raised differently, and you're sharing a bathroom with so many people, and so many people are in and out on a daily. The bathroom isn't clean, as frequently as you would like for it to be. So I was definitely grateful that I brought my shower shoes, a few cleaning supplies. Yeah, and then of course on those long nights, my coffee machine and things like that. But be mindful of that.
Perfect. And just so students are aware, we do have cleaning services that do come daily. But Whitney, I do agree with you. I scrub my shower often. So
Yes.
yes, we do have cleaning services that come daily. For some of you, your bathroom may be cleaner than you've ever had it before. So it takes all kinds of people. So next to Michaela, what about you? What was something you were grateful you brought?
I can't say that there's something I'm grateful I brought. I could say there's something I wish I would have been more mindful about, which is winter shoes. I wish I had been more thoughtful about the kinds of winter boots I had, because sometimes there was a lot of snow in Stanton and I was underprepared. Also, a good winter coat. I was glad that even though I didn't bring it at the beginning, eventually I got myself a really comfy feather down winter coat.
Perfect. Thank you. Cassie, now to you.
Yeah, so this is a good question. I would say I brought a lot of Polaroids and pictures from my friends back home because it's, you're moving somewhere new and you're making connections, which will be amazing and lifelong, but when you first get there, you're kind of uncertain, you're finding your place. So just having like photos of my friends that I could look at and be like, I can do this was always really nice. I also brought a couple of plants. I'm kind of a huge plant lady, so it was also, again, nice to have like a little plant friend in my room. But yeah, there's tons of nature around campus. It's not like you need them, but it's always nice to have them, I think. So that was my best thing.
Awesome. Dominique, what about you?
So don't be like me. But I was really grateful to have my speaker, and I was the one blasting the music. They used to always get in trouble with the RX. I like my music loud. I study well with music, all types of music. I was the music person. Yeah, it was great. So I was really thankful for my speaker, and that also was like a soothing thing for me as well. So I didn't always play it loud, but to be able to play like my favorite music and to be able to share that with my roommate as well, and for her to decide what song she wants to play next, and for me to then decide what song I want to play, was a great way for us to bond through music, and also for me to play my music. So yeah, bring a speaker.
Perfect. And impromptu dance parties when you're stressed in your dorm room from studying.
Right, exactly.
Perfect. All right, Kamala, what about you?
I think for me was snacks. I was very grateful for like my little snack cabinet, and I mean I'm not talking like chips and stuff, like just I think we had a little warm pot like thing that we had, and we would make like pasta in it and stuff like that. Because you get used to being at home, right? So as a freshman, I was always used to like being able to run downstairs and grab something, right? And I was like, wait, I need a snack. So I learned to have like, a little dry goods pantry, and that helped out a lot because as a science major, sometimes I would miss dinner, or I'd be, I'd just miss things, or I'd be working hard and I'd forget to, I'd come out and it'd be dark outside, and so I didn't lose track of time. So I was always grateful for my snacks, and as were my roommates and everybody on the hall. And another thing was my mom, when she moved me in on freshman, when we moved in, she goes, "Oh, here, I got this for you," and it was a scale. She's like, "Don't gain a lot of weight," and so I thought it was the rudest gift ever, and but I was the most popular person in the whole dorm because everyone wanted the scale, so I just stuck the scale out in the hall, and everyone used it. It was a great friend maker, I guess, having a scale on the floor. So.
Perfect. Like the sisterhood of the traveling scale. So that is pretty awesome. All right, Whitney, this next question is for you. How was the transition from home to campus during your freshman year?
Honestly, it was a little rough freshman year. I'm come from a very close knit family. I'm the oldest of my two siblings. I was raised by a single mom, so we were always together 24/7. So I'm also a first generation college student, so it was tough not only for me to leave, but for my mom as well, because she's always had my sisters and I, under her wing. So that was important for me as well to choose Mary Baldwin because it's close to home. I'm in Richmond, so it's only about an hour and a half according to my driving. Ask someone else, it's about 2 hours. But it was close to home. And so that first semester, honestly, I was going home every weekend. I wouldn't advise that, because by the second semester, I got more involved with activities, and that was really key to to be able to have a reason to stay on campus. And so once I got, more involved with campus activities and things, then I had purpose to be on campus. And I would say, Mom, I can't come home this weekend. I have this meeting on Saturday. I have, gospel choir rehearsal, or whatever it was that I had going on that, really allowed me to stay on campus more and be comfortable there. So it depends, a lot on your personality, a lot about the type of family that you come from. And so it varies from person to person. But for me, at first it was a little difficult, but I adjusted well.
Great, Cassie. What about you?
Yeah, I think I handled it pretty well, all things considered. So I had finished up my 2-year degree at a community college, transferred. I'm from New Hampshire. I'm actually there now. So this was a long drive, a long journey for me, about 12 hours. So it usually took like 2 days. So it really felt, out of the middle of nowhere, kind of like I can't go home for weekends. What am I going to do? So definitely the most essential thing is to find your group of people and, stick with them and then branch from there. So luckily, I got along so well with my roommate. I was her bridesmaid a couple years ago. So thankfully I had that person from day one, but just like everybody else, just getting involved. I hadn't even intended on getting involved that much. And then suddenly I met a friend and she was like, oh, join the honor council. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but okay, I'll join. So, you just have these things that kind of happen to you happenstance. And I think the biggest thing is just to jump on them, right? Just say, okay, I can do this. Why don't I do this? There's no reason not to. And just, yeah, interact that way and grow from there.
Exactly. I love both of your answers. So it looks like we have one last question, and this will be for everyone. So we'll go around. Dominique, we can start with you, and then we'll go back down. So what is your favorite memory from your time at Mary Baldwin?
Okay, so my favorite memory, oh, there's so many. Okay, so, okay, so I really did enjoy presenting at capstone and presenting my thesis, because similar to what Kamala said, just being able to present this work of this art, I called it, that I spent a whole year crafting and researching and putting together. I think my thesis paper for political science was like 35 to 40 pages. So I was really proud of myself for that and being able to complete that. And I still even use that now when jobs ask for a written work or a copy of something that I've written. Like, I know that was edited so many times that it's perfect. And if not perfect, it's almost there. So I was really proud of that, and was even able to take that work to the Pi Sigma Alpha, the Honor Society for Political Science, was able to present that there as well. So then I got to take what I did on campus, out of town, and share it with lots of other people. So I really enjoyed that. And if I may, Carly, I wanted to say one thing to Lexi. I know she asked about PEG students, and I wasn't a PEG, but what I will say is that I have great relationships and formed great relationships with PEG students. So I will say that PEG students were well integrated into campus, and from what I've seen, did feel like they were a part of the campus as well. And yes, I definitely loved my PEG friends and had many classes with PEGs as well.
Great. Thank you so much for mentioning that. I'm actually the one of the PEG admissions counselors. So Lexi, you definitely know who I am. So feel free to give me a call if you have any questions. So Kamala, now to you. What is your favorite memory from your time at Mary Baldwin?
I think my favorite memory was Apple Day. That's one of our greatest traditions. I think it's been around since the beginning, I guess. And that's a day in the middle of the week, usually a Tuesday, I believe. And you're off from school, no classes, and you kind of celebrate the heritage around gleaning apples. And so I mean, we went and picked apples, and then we had a carnival, and it was just a great time. And the dining hall at that time used to do this completely apple fest. So it would just be everything made from apples, like this great food. And it was just a really great day. I mean, even now, we all kind of get together on Apple Day, even if it's just a few of us, or either via Zoom. We actually use Zoom a lot, and we'll have an apple cocktail together and celebrate Apple Day. And now there are kids at Apple Day, people holding their babies and everything like that. So, but that's one of my favorite memories, and it's great to always see Apple Day pictures, every year as they come out. And the T-shirt, there's always an Apple Day shirt. And I love to see the students come out with every year. I always want to buy their Apple Day shirt because every year they get better and better. So that's definitely one of my favorite Mary Baldwin traditions.
Great, thank you. Carolyn, now to you.
So this is another really hard question. So I'm actually going to go with one from one of my econ classes. So I remember everybody just came into class one day. We were kind of like, all right, cool, another day in class. We're going to sit down. We're going to talk about, I don't know, something about economics or whatever. So anyway, my professor just decided, she was like, we need to change things up. Like, everybody's just here. We're kind of just marking time, doing our normal routines or whatever. She's like, that's not what I want. I want our class to be lively. I want to have discussion. She told everybody to just leave our stuff where it was. And we picked up and we had class at the coffee shop. I think it was Coffee on the Corner. So we walked out, had coffee, sat in the coffee shop, and we all just talked. We talked about stuff that was going on in life. We talked about stuff that was going on in the classroom and how everything intertwined and related. And it wasn't the topic that we were going to cover that day, but it was a great fresh of breath air that our professor just realized that we just were in a rut and we needed something different. And she just said, okay, let's all go down the coffee shop. And it was probably one of the best classes that I've had to this day.
I love that. Sometimes just getting out can change everything. So Whitney, now to you. What is your favorite memory?
This is also a hard question for me because I have a lot of favorite memories. But in addition to the traditions, one like Kamala mentioned, I definitely valued the time that I had with my Mary Baldwin sisters, where we would plan what we called a homework party. And so we would literally set aside time where we're going to have a homework party, and everyone would bring all their favorite snacks and drinks. Sometimes we'd even cook, bake cookies and things, and everyone would just have their laptops and books, and we just knock out as much homework as we could in one night to free up some of our time during the week. So this would sometimes be on Friday night or Saturday night, and we would invite all our friends over just to knock out homework, but we'd be up all night just laughing, talking, and doing homework, having productive, clean fun.
Great, thank you for that. Michaela, now to you.
I think one of my favorite, okay, I kind of have two. One of my favorite memories was the annual Kwanzaa celebration, which I absolutely loved and would help put on every year. And it's meant to be like a rite of passage for our first year students, but also like a celebration and a bit of like honoring of our senior students, which kind of mirrors what's called the Ajani ceremony at the end of the year, which is another one of my favorite memories. And I was honored to be an Ajani graduate by the time I finished. And those two things, Kwanzaa you participate in just about every year. And every year that you participate in Kwanzaa is like preparing you to participate in Ajani. So those two events, I think I looked forward to with like on pins and needles every single year, and was always so excited.
Thank you so much. Cassie, now to you.
Yeah, just like everybody else, this is such a hard question. I feel like I could say something from every day that is kind of like a favorite memory, but one thing that really sticks out is one day when we had a snowstorm. I have seen snow before. I live in New Hampshire, but some of my friends hadn't really seen that much, and we actually got like, I don't know, like 2 feet that week. So there was tons of snow, and nobody was out. Campus was like eerily silent, but it looked really beautiful in the snow. And a couple of friends and I just decided, hey, I wonder if the coffee shop is open. So we walked down the streets. No cars were on the roads. We were like walking in the middle of the street. It felt like Hogwarts or something, like Hogsmeade. Like we were in the middle of like this magical new perspective of Stanton. So we walked down to the coffee shop and we get coffee, and we just had like a 5-hour discussion in this coffee shop during a snowstorm. So that was like a really magical memory. Yeah.
Snow days are the absolute best in college, I must say. So I want to thank you all so much for taking your time to attend and participate in this information session. If you missed anything, this session has been recorded and will be sent out in the coming weeks. I look forward to seeing all of you on campus soon. I hope you and your family stay safe, and we will be in touch soon. Thank you.
Thank you.